Welcome to 30 Frames a Second. I'm your host, Greg Lassiter. How are you guys today? We have an incredible show for you. I got two amazing guests. I'm honored to be sitting here to interview these guests. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Give yourselves a strong round of applause. There's not a million of us today, but we're all over the world.
That's right.
And what you did today, you accomplished a mission. You let the community know that we want when we are free. You let the international community know that you want when we are free. You demonstrated solidarity with people all over the world, demanding and showing that you want when we are free. And we continue to do that. I just wanted to say one thing before we wrap up. It's very instructive that we were here and we saw the folks dressed up for Disney, the Disney features. Be very careful about this. We got a big film that just came out called Black Panther. Great big pretty fantasy film. Tariq Haskins is a real Panther.
Yeah!
The CIA has never been a friend of African people. We're going to be careful about that. And when we see caricaturization, that is one of the hallmark cultural expressions of genocide. We need to be real careful about what we're looking at with Disney coming at us, distorting and misdirecting us about our culture and our history. We got some real Panthers to get free. Herman Bell supposed to come home on April 17th. He's a real Panther. We want him free. Jalil Muntaqim is co-defendant, 45 years deep, a real Panther, and we want him free. Seth Hayes is one of his comrades from the New York chapter, a real Panther, and we want them free. And Poindexter, way out in the Midwest, a real Panther, and we want them free. In case you forgot, this man whose name we're here today, Mumia Abu-Jamal, is a real Panther, and we want him free. So we say, on to April 30th, bum rush the show, pack the courtroom, DA, give up them goddamn documents and give up Mumia Abu-Jamal. The time has come to free Mumia. What's the call?
Free 'em all.
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 All power to the people. All power to the people. All power to the people. We'll see you in the whirlwind.
Today. This is history for me. I'm sitting with two Black Panthers. To my left, I have Claudia Williams and BJ. Welcome to 30 Frames, guys.
Well,
Glad to be here.
Talk to me, guys, over here.
Thank you. Thank you
So,
very
guys,
much.
before I'm so excited, thank you for being here with me. What's it mean to be what's it mean to be a Black Panther?
What's it mean? Well, for me, it's about the love of your people. It was the undying love for the people that we are still here and functioning now.
Right.
When I became a Black Panther in 1969 or so, it was because I knew that there was something that was greater than I that I wanted to be a part of. It was the hardest job I've ever had.
Right.
There was no recognition for it. There was no pay.
Right.
But it was, you know, basically the love of the people that kept us going. It's the love of the people that keep us going right now.
Right. What about you, BJ? What it meant to be a Panther for you?
It meant to be a freedom fighter. Recognizing at an early age that the system was uneven and unequal. My idea was to change the system. Our whole thing was to alter or abolish this system. We didn't abolish it, but we sure as hell altered it.
And changed it.
Yeah, one of the things that we have that the Panthers initiated was free breakfast for children in
Right.
schools.
Right.
And the government took that over because they was embarrassed, they was afraid that the Panthers would organize the community, get real support. And when they took it over, they attacked the Black Panther Party.
When you say attacked meaning that the FBI
Oh
went in.
man,
What is that?
FBI, CIA.
Now, the Black Panthers, Black Panthers, guys, if you don't know, Black Panthers, for the people uneducated, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale were the founders of the Black Panther.
Right.
And the original was to protect the community from the abuse of police brutality.
Exactly.
And it turned into doing something for the community and protecting the community, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah, it started out as Black Panther Party for self-defense.
Right.
So, first of all, that was crazy. Well, in California, you were allowed to carry a weapon as long as it was not concealed.
Right. Did you have to have a permit
No.
back then?
No, you were allowed.
Right.
It was okay. It was only until the Panthers went to Sacramento to speak out against the law that Ronald Reagan was trying to pass to take guns out of the hands of us.
But that's kind of sacrilegious because what happened to the Second Amendment right to carry and bear arms, right?
Well,
that was meant for white people then, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it was never meant for us. It
Right.
was never meant. They have a way of changing laws at will.
Right.
When it will better black people.
Well, I always said
oppressed
too.
people.
I always said if we want to do something about the NRA, have every African American over the age of 18 file for a concealed weapon permit. Do you see how the laws would change then?
Yeah, exactly.
So being a Black Panther, you've seen a lot. You've been through the struggle.
Oh, no doubt.
What was the worst time for the Black Panthers, in your opinions?
Okay. In my opinion, the worst time for me was all right. The government, as we know it, declared war on the Panthers.
What do you mean by that?
Well, COINTELPRO, if you look into COINTELPRO, it was really, really, they really went on for it because of the Panthers. COINTELPRO was not new. It didn't come about because of the Panthers,
Right.
but it intensified because of the Panthers. Because COINTELPRO was out when Marcus Garvey was
Right.
doing his thing. But when I say all-out war, they were snatching Panthers or anybody affiliated with Panthers.
Right.
They were locking them up.
For what?
They
For
were
anything,
killing
just to
them
get them off the street.
to shut them up,
Right.
basically.
Right. Okay.
Because we were the liaison. And we were on the front lines with the people. BJ talked about the breakfast program. A little as it's known, sickle cell anemia, it was the Panthers that was testing our people for that.
Right.
Because the medical community didn't want to
care.
touch it.
They didn't
That
care.
was a black disease.
Right, right.
We started doing rent strikes because we felt that the women shouldn't share the bassinets or the cradles with their babies with rats.
Right, right.
So, there was a lot of things that we initiated. The social programs made the government look bad. So when I said all-out war, locking us up in mass numbers wasn't enough. They sent out death squads to kill us.
Wow.
So that was a very painful part of the struggle. And like you said, we went through the struggle. But I want to let you know that the struggle continues.
Right. The struggle definitely continues. Yes.
So when Panthers were being killed, You know, brothers that I knew, that I went to school with, that I sold papers with, that I lived in the same houses with. It wasn't something that I read about. I knew these people. That was hard.
Right. So what is it, to date, what is the enrollment of the Black Panthers, roughly?
Enrollment?
Like, how many people are in the Black Panthers?
Well, like I say, I'm a former member of the Black Panther Party.
And we'll talk about being a former member. Right. Okay.
This answers your question.
Okay.
There are no members because the organization does not exist. It was destroyed by this government. Actually, fractured and destroyed.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when
Because it was an organization that
Exactly.
was a legitimate organization at some point.
We had over 40 chapters across this country.
48.
48?
48.
Right.
Everywhere
48
there was a
chapters.
hood, there was a branch of the Black Panther Party.
But how did
the
the
problem
government?
is J. Edgar Hoover declared us the most threat to the internal security of this country.
Because you know the Black Panther are on the terrorist list today. To this
Still
day.
today?
Still today. They're on the terrorist list.
And the issue is when they declare you a threat to the internal security, they unleash all the weapons, FBI, CIA. We was even surveilled by NCIS, the military police, the CIA, which was illegal for them to work on people in this country.
Right.
So they unleashed a war against the Panthers.
So now being together, how you say it was 48 chapters? There was 48 chapters in different cities. But you still, like the intro we had, you still had people out saying we're the Black Panthers, right? So it still exists. Like the guy we saw in the intro, he was down on 42nd Street.
Right.
He was a Black Panther. Would you consider him a Black Panther?
Actually, I don't think he was a Black Panther. First of all, he's an activist,
an activist
for sure.
Right.
But as far as serving as he's too young.
Right.
You know, we're going back to the Black Panther
50s,
Party came about in 1966.
Right.
In New York, it came about in 1968.
Wow.
So, you know, you just can't say, you know, who he's talking about freeing.
Right.
Is the Black Panther.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So he wasn't part of the Black Panther. He was an activist of the Black Panthers, right?
A supporter
of the Black Panthers. Now, is it to this day? Could you guys consider yourselves Black Panthers? And BJ, you said, I always thought that once you're a Black Panther, you're always a Black Panther, or can you get out? Like you said, you were going to explain to me how you can get out. Or why did you consider yourself a Black Panther?
It's not about getting out. I mean, in my heart, I'm a Panther. I still fight for the freedom of Black people.
Right.
Which was basically what the Black Panther Party fought for, on all levels.
Right.
But, like I said, the organization no longer exists. I'm a member of the Black Panther Party Commemoration Committee.
That was my What do they do? What do they do? What is the Black Party
Panther Party Commemoration Committee? New York.
Is there more than one?
There's one. You know, I went online, and there's one in England.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, the Black Panther was originally for Black Americans.
Exactly.
So there's one in England.
Exactly. And the thing about the Black Panther Party, the principles were so powerful that other countries, other oppressed people picked it up.
Right.
Did you know there was a Jewish Black Panther Party? There was a Jamaican Black Panther Party.
What? Doesn't it make sense?
Polynesian Black. Oh, it does make sense because they were oppressed people. Fighting for their
rights.
freedom.
You have to understand when the Black Panther Party talked about freedom for all people, all power to the people, meant the people.
Right.
It was not just Black people, it was Black people first and foremost.
Right.
But it was for all
people.
oppressed people.
Okay. The Black Panther Party, May 15th, 1967. first published the 10-point program. The 10-point program, the 10-point program, I was reading it, and the 10-point program, it says, if it was still, if the party was still together, do you think they would have evolved? Because I look at some of them like, one is we want freedom, we want power to determine the destiny of our black community. Okay, the only people that could do that is us, right?
That's
Okay.
right.
And it says we want full unemployment for our people. That again is about us,
Employment,
right? There was something that I wanted to ask you guys about. We want all black men to be exempt from military service.
That's very easy.
Exactly.
That's very easy, and I'm going to tell you why. When the U.S. of A. is in any kind of conflict all around the world, who's the first ones that they send out to fight?
Black people.
All right.
Black women
Now,
and men now.
we're going back to the Revolutionary War. Where did they put those black soldiers? If they weren't digging the latrines, they were on the front lines.
Right. Infantry, yeah.
There was so many brothers that went to Vietnam
Right.
that came home, saw that people in the same conditions and did what?
Right.
They joined the Black Panther Party.
Right.
Geronimo was one of them.
Right.
So, no, we don't want them in the military.
And this was
A great example is the stand taken by Muhammad Ali when he said, ain't no yellow man, ain't no Vietnamese, and never called me nigger.
right.
So we felt that this wasn't our war. Our war was right here in America fighting these racist police, these racist capitalists, the racist teachers that didn't want to give us our true education.
Which we're still fighting to this day.
And that's why I asked you, is the Black Panther Party 10-point program platform relevant today?
Yeah, I think some of it is. Now it says number 8. We want freedom for all black men held in federal, state, and county city prisons.
What's the call?
Free them all.
But why? But what, do you
Okay.
think some of them may have committed a crime?
Some of them may have committed a crime.
Right.
But we're talking about our warriors,
Right.
our freedom fighters.
Right.
I mean, everybody else that had a freedom fighter,
Right.
they didn't go to jail.
Right, they did.
For 40, 50 years. Well,
Right.
see, America refuses to say that these black men that are dying off in
Right.
these prisons
Right.
are political prisoners.
Right. What
But
was
that's
the one?
why they're
Mumia?
there.
What was his name? Mumia? What the?
Mumia.
Mumia. He's out. Is he?
No.
No, he's still
he's
in,
not
right?
out.
Yes.
Now, when he got sentenced to what, life?
He was on
He
death
was on
row.
death row. Yes.
Right.
And we
for
fought
murder.
that.
Yes.
For murder.
We
Now,
fought that.
Do
Now-
you think that was legitimate? That-
No, he was framed.
Exactly.
Like the majority of them.
Okay.
If a policeman was killed in Iowa,
Right.
they went and they picked up Panthers from every state, from Maine to Texas,
Right.
for that one murder.
Because I think Mumia was sentenced to death because of the Philadelphia policeman, was it?
Exactly.
Yes,
Right,
but you
right.
know why? Mumia was a journalist.
Right. That's why he
He was always a journalist. He
Right.
was always into that. After the party had disbanded,
Mm-hmm.
he was still talking about let's right the wrongs of the Move 9 had been firebombed.
Right.
He started to talk about it.
Right.
It was an embarrassment to the Philadelphia police.
So tell me something, Claudia. Why can't the Black Panther Party become an organization again? What stops you guys from coming to be a legitimate organization to do the same things that Huey and Bobby Seale did on the come up?
Bobby Seale is 80 years old.
But I'm
We're
saying,
old.
no, but I'm saying, but
we're
we can teach our
old.
young because we have to leave a legacy.
And,
right?
And that's what we're
we
doing.
do.
Right.
That's
And
why
that's
I
what
say
we're doing.
Commemoration Committee.
Now-
what we do is teach the youth the history of the party, the history of struggle, the history of freedom fighting. I mean, I tell the youth when I go there, I say, look, I can't throw bricks at the system any longer.
Right.
But I can hand them to you.
But see, that's
that's our job now.
Now that was my question. Is the young that we can still have an organization called the Black Panther Party, a legitimate organization, nonprofit, ran by the elders, and the workers would be the young.
We have that.
Right.
We have something called the Black Panther Party Alumni Association.
Oh, good.
That is here and working, and I can't tell you how many members, but
Right.
there's a lot.
Right.
and they go to their prospective communities.
Good.
And they still are organizing, and they still are teaching,
Right.
and they still, do things, social programs for the communities.
And that's the whole issue. The whole issue is us being teachers and educators
Right,
now,
right.
because the conditions that started the Black Panther Party are different,
Right.
and there's different tactics.
Right.
So I would rather you take a different name to fight what's going on now, even
Right.
though it's the same oppression.
Right. Why so? Why would you take a different name, as in what?
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. But Black
Sure.
Lives Matter wasn't. Was it the Black Panther Party
Right. But
did more for the community than Black Lives Matter?
And that's their next step. We've talked to them, we've met with them. Their next step is to go into the community and organize. You see, you have to understand that it's a reaction. Anytime a policeman kills a youngster,
Okay.
they come out.
Okay.
But what happens in the meantime? In the meantime, you go talk to these parents that have these
Okay.
youngsters, and
Okay.
that's how you organize.
Okay, that's a good segue. Now, this is the 10th anniversary
Oh,
of the
yeah.
Black Panther
Commemoration.
Party film festival.
and the film festival,
Right.
Which to me, which is New York. This is what New York is all about. Tell me a little bit about that before we go and see some films in it. How did that start? You guys are part of that, right?
Exactly,
Yes.
the Commemoration Committee.
The com-
It started, Kathleen Cleaver had the International Black Panther Party Film Festival, which we worked on it with her. And it was at Columbia University, and it was 2 years in a row, and then she stopped. And people recognized us because we worked with her, and they said, well, how come you don't have the festival no more? So how come you can't have the festival? So I called Kathleen and said, how come you don't have the festival? Oh, it's too much work. I said, we're going to do it.
Right.
So we met the Maisels.
Right.
And Emory Douglas came into the town, and they needed some Panthers to help with the program with Emory Douglas and his artwork.
Right.
And they had it at the new museum.
Wow.
Yeah,
the new Maisels
Emory
very-
was at the new museum.
Okay, we know what we're going to do, guys. We're going to take a look at some of
Okay.
the wonderful films that are in the festival.
For a period of nearly 80 years between the Civil War and World War II, black Southerners were no longer slaves, but they were not yet free.
What happened in that period of time was so much more terrible than anything most Americans recognize or understand today.
In one of the most shameful chapters of American history, generations of black Southerners were forced to labor against their will.
Free black people could be just picked up and put in jail. The sheriff department could sell people to corporations and coal mines.
He locked me up for 3 days. And after that, he said, if I don't go to work, he'll put me in the river down there.
People's lives were truly stolen from them. Their freedom was taken away.
All the southern states use the criminal justice system to put African Americans back into a position as close to slavery as they possibly could.
These were real people who were deemed to be of no value. Maybe now, through the telling of this history, these individuals can receive some measure of justice.
That's the terrible myth of organized society, that everything that's done through the established system is legal, and that word has a powerful psychological impact.
All I want to say is all power to the people. Right on, do it. Get them up. Get them all up.
Now, as a premiere, we will have William M. Kunstler, yes, the real William M. Kunstler, appear and talk about his life.
Here you had this man who stood for radical politics, and now he was representing people whose values were anathema to most of us.
If you do not decide this case on the evidence, someday, somewhere, you will wake up screaming.
I said, let's not do this one. It puts you two in danger. Obviously, he didn't listen to me.
I was kind of wondering if ever you decided to take a case and then later, did a double take and said, I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't something that in my heart I believe is right.
It's very, very hard to look Bill Kunstler's daughter in the eye and to say that I thought he was a hypocrite.
I suspect that better men than the world has known, and more of them, have gone to their death through a legal system than through all the illegalities in the history of man.
It is said in progressive and revolutionary movements that you judge the character of a movement by its martyrs.
Let us die fighting in the barrios, in the jails, in the college campuses, in the fields, in the streets, for our raza. Let us all be organizers in every day of our lives. Chicano! 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 Viva la raza! Viva la causa!
True revolutionaries are driven by love and the love of his people. And that's what Junior believed in, and he was willing to die for it.
We were pissed off that we were lied to, cheated out of our lands, that our families had gone through so much prejudice. We were angry, damn it, and we were going to make a change. And then in that process, we studied and organized, and studied and organized.
Ricardo Falcón.
The contradictions in the society during the time of the Vietnam War reached a peak, and that is right when these killings happened.
Neval Romero was killed in Francisco Doherty, Roberto Terán. 48 hours between two bombings.
What would Los Seis de Boulder and these other young people that died, what would their lives have been like? What contributions could they have made had they lived?
Luis Junior Martinez.
The state underestimates the power of history, and history rarely stays put in a forgotten, disconnected past. And that is the door that we have opened today. Que viva la raza!
Wow, very powerful. Those are some, I can't wait. This film festival, the 10th anniversary of the Black Panther Party Film Festival, September 28th and 29th, and then the following weekend, October 5th and the 6th. And before we leave, I'm going to ask you guys how to get a hold of you, to anybody want to go. But now let's talk about the infamous, this book right here is called The Black Panther. It's a Portraits of an Unfinished Revolution. Now, Claudia, tell me about this. Before I start, this is amazing. This book is amazing. This is Claudia, right here. That's awesome, awesome. And then, BJ, you cleaned up well. This is BJ. So, tell me about.
A lot younger than.
So, Claudia, tell me about this book. Tell me about you guys participating in this book and what this book means.
Well, the book is well. First of all, I have to give a shout out to Brian Shee,
the photojournalist, right?
Who was wonderful and understanding and patient and just an all-around good guy.
Right.
When he brought it to us, he didn't know how we would react.
But he was the photojournalist, not to cut you off, he was the photojournalist that took the pictures and stuff like that.
Right. Yes.
And put it together, then brought it to us.
And he brought it to us because he needed our stories to go along with the pictures. Mm-hmm. What he was most interested in was the rank and file.
Okay.
So that everybody knew about Huey, and everybody knew about Bobby and Kathleen and, you know, Eldridge. You know, they were internationally known.
Right.
But
H-Rap Brown?
Who was the...
Right.
Who was the...
Right.
Who was the driving force?
Right.
Who was putting out those social programs? Who was feeding the children?
Right.
Who was getting the medical cadre together for the Sickle Cell Anemia Project. They wanted to know who was I think in the military, they call them grunts.
The grunts.
Right.
So he wanted his book to be about the grunts, the rank and file. So I was very honored to be asked and be a part of this. I think it's a great book.
Right.
And it talks about some of those 48 chapters because there are Panthers in it. That's not New York based.
Right.
That's Panthers from everywhere.
Well, Bobby Seale and Huey met in California, right?
Exactly.
That's where it started. In California.
Exactly.
Did Chicago have a version of the Black Panthers, a chapter of the Black
Let me tell you about the Chicago Panthers. Chairman Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was the initiator of the Rainbow Coalition, not Jesse Jackson.
Right.
Fred figured he'd stop racism with solidarity. So it was the Appalachian whites, the Chicanos, the Young Lords, the gangs, the churches. They all came together to clean up their communities, serve the people.
Chinese.
The Chinese, Hong Kong.
Right, the Yagusa.
And this is why they got rid of Fred. Right. Because when you bring all type of oppressed people together to fight the common enemy, they become very, very dangerous.
Right, because before the government is trying to separate and divide.
They did.
Yeah.
That's how they kept everybody down because we were too busy fighting each other.
But you know what's kind of crazy? That's what's happening in Chicago now. Chicago is. But my question is, the Black Panther is okay. Even though it doesn't exist, but it still exists. There's still members in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Then why is it? My thing, we got the Black Panthers, and we have the Muslims because they were based out of Chicago.
The headquarters is still there.
Right. Why is there so much crime still in Chicago?
That's a good.
That's a. Well, listen. First of all, the economy is that where when you look at these gangs because. What you see in Chicago is it's a lot of gang violence, and the few Panthers that survived, because that's Fred was killed. That's where they set the death squads, and then the rest of them had to go underground in order to live. So like we said before, the reason that you don't see Panthers like you did in the 60s is because times have changed. Issues have changed. Situations have changed. And the handful of people that are political there is not enough to fight
the system.
No, systematic.
But that's where we come into recruiting the young kids to be Black Panthers.
I give you a good example. They put crack in the neighborhoods to deaden our minds. It's
and
easy heroin. Well, heroin came before crack.
Right.
We fought that. Just when we got over that, they put crack in there. And now in Chicago, it's easy for them youngsters to get a gun.
They kill each other.
And the government turns a blind eye to that.
Because as long as we're killing each other, they
don't care.
They don't care.
Now let me ask you this: do you guys, being a Black Panther, do you guys ever feel for your life?
Every day.
Someone asked me about that not too long ago, and they said something, to the point of, you might have to watch what you say. They're still looking at you. Your name is still somewhere. And I have a saying. I have a red black plaque over by my computer, and it says on it, all my friends have FBI files.
That's true.
And
they all do.
I tell them, if they wanted me, it would be so very easy because they always have known where I am.
Right.
So I guess Well, when I was young and in the Panthers, well, you know, when you're young, you have no fear.
Right, right.
So I really didn't care about them.
Right,
Now that I'm old, I'm a little more
cautious.
Well, no, because I'm really not cautious.
I was going to say, Claudia, I just met you. You don't seem to be cautious at all.
But I think about my demise because I know that it is possible, that it can happen, and it can happen in so many different ways.
Right.
But, you know, Abdul Majid's mom had made a statement to us. Abdul Majid was one of our brothers that died behind the walls in April 2016. But his mom said, you must tell your story.
Right.
Because if you don't, it will die with you.
That's right.
So as long as I live and breathe, I'm going to be talking, I'm going to be telling somebody, and whoever is listening will know that, you know, the struggle continues.
Right. Are you guys from New York or are you from California? Where are you guys originally from?
New York.
You're from New York.
Born and raised
in New York.
My mother and father
Did you
was
guys
born
ever
and
meet
raised
Bobby
here.
Seale and Huey Newton?
Yes.
Yeah. I traveled with Bobby last February through the colleges on his Black History tour.
Right, really?
Yeah.
What types of reforms would you guys want to see in the justice system?
I'd like to see it totally scrapped.
Well,
you know, and I'm going to tell you why. When you go back to that point where you said, you know, about the criminal systems.
Right.
You know, the system, the way it is now, the reason why we were so, you know, upset about the way things were going for Black people, period, was because you're supposed to be, you're supposed to have a jury of your peers.
Right.
When do you know that happens?
Why do you think it doesn't happen?
Well,
the system is not built like that.
You know, I mean, well, if there were Black people on the jury, and they're not political, you might as well still have an all-white jury.
Right. That's true. But I do say this: in order to, I tell Black people, Nat Wood and I do this every week. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Yes,
and I tell
sir.
Black people, in your community, the first thing you do is to register to vote.
That's right.
Because if you register to vote, you become part of the jury pool. Because you look at what happened in, was it Missouri, where the kid got killed by the policeman, where the city was, what's the name of the place in Missouri, where the city itself was 85% Black. There was no Black police chief. There was no Black. There's no Black no Black political. And when the jury, when the policeman who shot the kid went to trial, Ferguson. When he went to trial, it was a jury of all white people. Because Black people didn't vote. And that's why we always stress to Black people, vote. Because then you can become part of the jury pool when it's time to indict a cop.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Well, the issue is, and that's what the Black Panther Party started as,
voting.
As a political party. We were political. The action we did in Sacramento was just a demonstration against the law that was being passed. I myself worked on a campaign for Charles Wright back in the day. And we also worked on the first Black woman to run for president. I worked on that campaign.
Shirley Chisholm.
I worked on that campaign. And Bobby Seale ran for mayor. So it was all about the politics. We understood the politics, the necessity of the politics. Right now we have Charles Barron, former Panther, state assemblyman. He understands it. But
now,
it's not enough Black people that get this education to understand it. We have to fight them on all fronts.
That's right. There are many Panthers that's been in solitary confinement for decades. What's your opinion about that practice?
Well, when you ask something that should be changed, that should be changed. Solitary confinement is cruel and unusual punishment. There's a film about Albert Woodfox and Herman Wallace and Robert King, Angola 3, that were held in solitary for over 43 years. Woodfox just got out, 43 years in solitary confinement. And the reason why they held him was because of his political beliefs. 3 years before he was released, he told me this himself.
Yeah.
They had a suit against the state of Louisiana that it was cruel and unusual, a civil suit. So they told him 3 years before he was released, look, settle the suit, we'll give you $1 million, we'll release you if you denounce Pantherism. And that's
really?
That's his political beliefs.
Right.
He turned around and said, take me back to myself.
So is that why many of the Panthers were in solitary confinement? Because if they were in general population,
they would talk.
Right.
That kept them isolated, so that they couldn't tell anybody.
But see, that's the problem there with the system too, because when you're in solitary confinement, it was because you did something wrong in prison.
Not for the Panthers. It's their political beliefs.
But see, you know, as long as America denies the fact that they are political prisoners,
right,
they will continue to do that.
Right.
See, they wanted to lock them up and throw away the key. And, you know, if nobody talks about it, you know, like, all right, this is going to die out with them.
Right.
And we started talking about it.
Right.
We started saying
Fighting.
they need to come home.
Right.
Sundiata is 80 years old.
And in solitary confinement.
And not in solitary confinement,
Right.
but
He got a 15-year hit.
Wow.
On his last hearing at the parole board.
Well,
15 years.
Yeah,
wow.
we didn't know before. Well, I don't know about we. I'm going to say I didn't know before that every time they go before the board, if they're denied, they hit them with more time.
Why? That's unconstitutional.
Because they're Panthers.
But that's unconstitutional.
Yes, it is. But being in jail in the first place was unconstitutional.
Right.
You know, we already talked about the fact that the Constitution and the amendments and all of that other crap didn't apply to us anyway. They show it every day.
Right.
But people, they're not getting it. Our people have become so complacent.
Yep, and we talked about that because what's happening right now in the present administration is that they're trying to change the Constitution to go back to where it was in the 1800s. So that's why we are always, I'm with you with telling black and brown people, exercise your right to vote. Take care of our own communities. Don't look for outside help to take care, because it starts at home. I mean, what would you tell the young black men and women today that are coming up?
I don't think we have time.
You know what? We'll make time. Claudia, we'll make time.
I would tell them the struggle continues. You have to find an organization.
The Black Panthers.
It no longer exists.
We can still make it exist.
So
we're going to make it exist.
Well,
the new and improved 10.0.
They have the young organization, the Malcolm X Grassroots Committee. They have the brother that opened up.
Right.
He has an organization. They're doing it.
Are they doing it or are they talking?
No, they're doing it.
They're visiting political prisons.
Right.
They're out and they're teaching. It's the whole thing about we're in the educational process of this revolutionary struggle.
Right.
And that's the main thing. You have to teach these kids
the
reason why.
Right. History.
And let them see that slavery by another name, the movie that we're going to have, how they put us in jail.
Right.
That is happening today.
Right.
Prisoners now are making clothes for McDonald's.
Right.
Prisoners now.
It used to be just license plates, but
license plates.
Angola
passe.
prison is selling. You have gardens, fields where they're making vegetables,
growing vegetables.
I give you a good story of Angola prison. Robert King Wilkinson, one of the Angola Three, started making these pre-lines. And selling them around the country. He learned to make them in Angola.
Wow.
They tried to sue him to tell him he couldn't make them, but he won the case, and now they're making their own pre-lines.
Really?
Angola prison.
Wow.
So it's all about the money. And then you have to teach the young the crux of the problem is capitalism.
Right.
And they have to learn that.
Right.
You know, they would allow us to think, You know, it's a black versus white. It's a black against white thing. It's going to be race riots and all of this crap. You know, their propaganda for years. You know, shut up or you're going to be hanging from a tree. For years, our people have had that concept.
The scared mentality?
You know, we have to let them know it's never been black or white.
Right.
From the beginning, from the slave ships till now, it's always been green. The problem is economics.
Right.
Who has it and who don't?
Right.
Malcolm used to say the rich get richer and the poor get what?
Nothing.
You know, the poor get poorer.
Right.
You know, it's we have to change that so that
how do we do that, Claudia? How do we do that?
You've got to dismantle the way things have always been. Because they work for what? 2% of all the people in this country.
Right.
And the other 98% are struggling to survive.
So we have to change our mentality then. We have to change our mentality.
It all comes through with education.
But it all comes through what we're doing. We educate the youth. And
because the youth are the future. So
exactly.
And I feel sometimes that we've lost a few generations because it actually starts at home. It starts at home.
No doubt.
And it does take a village to raise a kid.
Yes, it does.
And I don't understand, you know, we need to take our communities back, first of all. Well, let me ask you, will there be any panels at this festival? Like different breakout panels?
Of course, definitely. We have the first night, Friday, September 28th, Malcolm X, an overwhelming influence on the Black Power movement by Thomas Muhammad. Now, he'll be there.
Wow. I would definitely be there.
Symbols of Resistance, a tribute to the martyrs of the Chicano movements. There's no Q&A that day. But Marcus Garvey at 7 p.m. on Saturday, September 29th, Look for Me in the Whirlwinds, a Stanley Nelson film. It's all about Marcus Garvey. And there's Sekou Odinga. He's going to be there. And before he was a Panther, he was a Garveyite.
Right.
So the struggle continues. Friday, October 5th, William Kunstler, Disturbing the Universe. It's a panel discussion with two lawyers that worked with Kunstler back in the day.
And one of his daughters is going to be there.
So yeah, Slavery by Another Name. We're looking for someone for October 6th at 4 p.m. on Saturday. There's two films on the Saturdays. At 7 p.m., we have a film about Winnie Mandela.
Right. So I'm going to ask both of you guys a question. Let me start with you, Claudia. What advice can you give to our community, our black community, and our young? What advice can you give to them to help us move forward? Because see, you, BJ, been on the struggle. You guys have a lot to teach the world, for that matter. Not just black kids, but the world on what the struggle. Because you're right, this is not a black and white thing. This is an economics thing. So what kind of advice could you give them?
That's the issue.
Okay. First of all, when I talk to the youth, I always want to talk about love because it is about the love that will make you move in the direction that you want to go in. If you don't love, first of all, starting with your family, first of all, starting with yourself. If you don't love yourself, you can't love others. You can't take that, because love is very powerful. You know, like I said, it was the love of the people that have us old folks still trying to march around and protest you know. But I have one of my my great grandchild is here with me today. But my grandchildren, I have a grand that's 6 years old, and anytime somebody says power to the people, he throws up his hand. Right or left, it doesn't matter. Whatever hand is free, he's throwing it up. He doesn't actually know what it means, but he knows that it means it's something, that is
something
powerful.
Right.
You know, so start with the love. You know, people, they've tried to separate us on so many levels.
Right.
By so many things. You know, the jigaboos and the wannabes.
Right.
We got to get rid of all of that.
Right.
And start
The
from
N-word.
basics.
Yeah, no, we got to get rid of all that. Right. Awesome. What about you, BJ? What would you have to offer?
Organize, agitate, organize, and learn.
Right.
Investigate your history. I'll give you a good story. Jamal Joseph, 14 years old, went to join the Black Panther Party. And he was in the meeting, and he jumps up and he says, I'm ready to kill the white man. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do that.
Give me a gun.
So, yeah, give me a gun. Give me a gun. So the guy told him, come on up here. And he gave him a handful of books.
Right. Read. That's your gun right there.
That's your weapon.
This is your weapon right here. That's perfect.
Jamal says, I thought you was going to arm me. Brother,
I'm arming you.
I just did. So you youngsters, get this book.
Right. This is the
Come
book.
out to our film festival.
Right.
And learn.
Something. That's right. Education is the key.
Yes, it is.
True education.
True education,
This
right.
is what we're talking about.
Right.
Don't believe the hype.
Now, you guys have a film about Chicanos. And what do you think about that and what's going on with immigration, regarding immigration?
Yeah, that's it.
Look at Claudia.
I'm very sensitive when it comes to children and babies.
Oh, man.
And old people.
Right.
That really, it's a terrible thing what's happening, especially since the United States is supposed to be the melting pot,
right?
And the Statue of Liberty is standing there talking about bring me your tight and your poor.
Right.
Bullshit.
Right.
Okay. But,
they didn't really want to believe. They didn't really believe that.
Racism has reared its ugly head once again.
That's it.
In the embodiment of Donald Trump.
Right.
This should not be happening.
Right. 21st century.
Now, as far as what we said earlier, to go back to what the Black Panther Party was talking about, freedom for all oppressed people.
Right. All oppressed people.
This movie, the Chicano Martyrs, is so educational because it shows that there were people who did not sit down and do nothing, twiddle their thumbs. There were people that were willing to live and die and fight for their cause.
Right.
And I think everybody should come out and see this because it's so educational.
And this film festival, everybody, is September 28th and 29th, and the following weekend, October 5th and October 6th of this year. Now, how do we get information about that, Claudia, BJ? How do
411-BJ-710-NYC @gmail.com.
Say it again.
411 for BJ 710-NYC @gmail.com. Now, we're going to be at Maisel Cinema, 343 Malcolm X Boulevard in the village of Harlem. Now, you can go on Maisel's website also to get your tickets, to get the information. www.maisels, MAISELSTITUTE.org. www.maiselsinstitute.org. And come on out. Get some education.
You guys will be there, right?
That's what we need.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh,
of
yes.
course.
But, well, we're a part of the Commemoration Committee, so yeah, we'll be there.
We'll be working.
I was just going to say, you guys are working.
We'll be working.
Now, what do you guys do? Like, this is a full-time job. So every year, once it starts, you have different films every year.
Every year.
How many films do you usually have?
Well, because it's the 2 weekends, it's six.
Six.
Really?
We have one on Friday night, and then
two on
Saturday.
Right. So let me ask you this: this is something that the main media doesn't even cover, and this is important.
Well, I can tell you something funny about last year. Sandra Bookman had booked us to be on her show, and then they had the hurricane. They sent us an email saying,
just cancel.
"We'll get you next year."
Really?
I ain't heard from him yet.
They'll get you next year?
I ain't heard from him yet, though.
You heard that, right? You heard that one. But guys, you also remember, you have to pick up this book. This is a great book called The Black Panthers by Brian Shee and Yahuru Williams. This is I looked through it. I didn't have a chance. I'm going to get it online. I can get this online too, right?
Amazon,
Amazon.com.
Right.
And this is autographed, guys. I think this is autographed to you, right? Is this your book?
No, that's all autographed by the author.
Oh, by the author,
That's
right.
the one I'm selling, by the way.
Oh, okay.
By the way, we'll have books at the
film
festival.
Okay.
And you'll meet about 8 of the folks that are in this book, and they will autograph it for you.
You know what? I want to thank you guys so much for coming. And I want to say to Nat Wood, today's my 57th birthday. And
Happy birthday.
And this, to me, is the best birthday ever, to interview some people who have been out on the Black Panther Party, who's been out on the struggle, that gives me some firsthand what's happening and not some hearsay about, oh, I heard this and I heard that.
Right on.
That means a lot to me, and I appreciate you guys. And that, our whole team will be here. We'll be here.
I'd like to thank Nat Woods.
Who is that again?
Nat Woods. I'd like to thank him because this is our 10th annual film festival, a milestone. But this is our 8th time that we've been here promoting this film festival.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Nat. One love, brother.
Nat, I really appreciate it. I want to thank Sheila Spellberry. She's our crew, and Veronica Kitt. And guys, I love you guys, and I want to thank everybody on my social media for the birthday wishes. I got over 600 so far. I didn't even think I had that many friends, but thank you guys so much. And again, guys, you know what?
I'll be 601.
601, right? I really appreciate this. This right here was simply amazing. But we want to have Nat Wood to come out on the set. Nat Wood. Here's the creator of 30 frames a second. Nat Wood himself.
You send my baby out?
Happy birthday to you.
Too old.
Happy birthday to you. Hold it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you guys. I really
Happy
appreciate
birthday. Happy birthday, old fart.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody. We got a few seconds, guys. This is the best. Yeah. This right here is the best person ever. I got to sit down. I want before we go, I'm going to take lots of pictures.
Anybody have my Claudia?
You should have seen Nat putting on Claudia's microphone. I thought I might have to call the police.
That's why I'm not going to give up. Stay out.
We're out. Thank you, guys. All right.
It was good meeting you, though.
My pleasure.
I watch you and Nat. You know, when Nat doesn't have no guests, it's you and him back and forth. Whoa.
We've been doing this for 10 years.
Oh,
10
okay.
years, yes, 10 years. Thank you. Thank you. We got to give back to the community.
I applaud you, brother.
Remember this, guys. Shoot for the moon. If you missed, you're still among the stars. I'm Greg Lassiter for 30 Frames a Second. We'll see you next week where we bring it.
These were tough times. They were killing us right and left. People were so terrified.
And bring about the freedom of these people by any means necessary.
He could express things so beautifully.
Yeah. We must defend ourselves.
The kid thought that he was going to come and kill all the white people, and when he didn't do that as a child, I was disappointed.
I feel the presence of the people who gave their lives.
I'm at the hotel now, and they're planning to kill me tomorrow.
When the shots rang out, I dropped to the floor.
He made us immune to the disease of white supremacy.